interviews with Matteo Aiello from Calgary, Alberta. Matteo used to play for the Calgary Mustangs, Brooks Bandits, and for McMurray Oil Barons of the AJHL. I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel, Enjoy the Grind by Jace Boman, where I interview hockey players and get a chance to hear great stories and see where their paths led them.
Nice. Happy to be here with you, Jace.
Happy that you're here with us. So I have the privilege to call Matteo my billet brother, as he lived with us while he played in Fort McMurray. So what's up, Matteo? How's life and how is Christmas?
That's awesome. Yeah, life's good. I've been removed from the game of hockey for a few years now, but everything's good. Christmas was nice. I got to spend time with the family. Obviously, things are a little different this year, but I think it also forces us to enjoy the little things a little bit more and get to spend a little bit more time with our family instead of going out with our friends and doing other things. So all things considered, I'm doing pretty good, Jace.
That's good. So we're going to dive right into the question. So out of the teams you've played for, what team did you enjoy playing on the most?
Are you talking about junior hockey teams or any team I've ever played for?
Any team you've ever played for.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, in my final year of hockey, I played for the Fort McMurray Oil Barons. And I'm not just saying this because I lived with you guys when I played there, but I had a tough year when I played hockey in Brooks. We had a really strong team, and we ended up winning the AJHL. But I was our youngest forward, and on a really good team like that, you don't get to play a lot in a position that I was in, and so it was tough on me, always kind of being a guy that got to play a lot and stuff growing up, to go from that to being a 13th forward and having to sit out a bunch of games. So when I got traded to Fort McMurray, it was a chance for me kind of to reset and have some more fun, have a bigger role playing junior hockey. As soon as I got out there, I knew it was going to be a great year. I had some really good friends on that team: Lil Conley, Hayden Ursulak, Jackson McKinstry. The list goes on. And I can't thank my billets enough for taking me in and making me feel welcome in their home. I've got kind of a second family because of it, and that's always a big part of hockey. I think billets don't get talked about enough, and they make the biggest difference in the world. But playing on that Fort McMurray team, it was right after the crazy wildfires there, and we dedicated our season to all the firefighters, the people who lost their homes, just the whole entire community of Fort McMurray. And we went from a last place team the year prior to actually winning the North Division of the AJHL. So that was pretty special. We got to take part in a bunch of different stuff in the community. The fans were awesome. The rink is awesome. The city is awesome. And if I could relive 1 year of my hockey career and go back, it would probably be that year in Fort McMurray.
So during your time, what was it like going 12-1 to become the AJHL championship in 2015-16 with Bandits?
Like I touched on before, that year was difficult for me personally, despite the success that we had. But nonetheless, I was a part of it. I practiced every single day with the team. I went out there and did my best, just did what I could. And, to be a part of a championship team, no matter what your role is special, because, when you're on a team like that, chances are, all the guys are more focused on winning than they are their own roles in the team, and everyone just wants to win. So when you have that kind of chemistry and that kind of camaraderie within the dressing room, doesn't matter what your role is, it was pretty darn special to be able to hoist the Gas Drive Cup, at the end of our run there with that team, and I'll definitely remember that forever.
That was like a sick ring you got too, and that
ring.
flow you had.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. The funny story in Brooks, they have this tradition where, amongst all the other many traditions they have this tradition where when you come in to training camp, you can get your hair cut, whatever, but as soon as the regular season starts, the AJHL regular season starts, I think it starts, sometime in September. As soon as that day comes, you cannot cut your hair until your season is over. And so for most Brooks Bandits teams that end up doing really well, your season is extremely long. And in the case of the 2015-2016 year when I was on the team, our team played until May 25th, I think, which is just about as long as you can play, and we went to the RBC Cup. So I had to go something like 8 or 9 months without cutting my hair. And as soon as playoffs start, everyone's got to dye it black. So on top of my already black hair, I had to dye it black anyways. And when it's that long and you put a bunch of chemicals in it, it falls out everywhere. And so I don't think my billets in Brooks were very happy about all the hair that I was leaving all over their bathtub. But yeah, despite being able to go that far and play on such a great team, there was that pretty funny tradition of not being able to cut your hair for 8 or 9 months.
So during your time playing, is there a team that stands out to you and that showed a lot of chemistry?
Yeah, I think the most special example of that was probably the team we put together in Fort McMurray. We didn't really have any total superstars. Obviously when I played in Brooks, we had a ton of really good players. Cale McCarr, Parker Foos playing the KHL right now. Derek Lodermeyer is playing professional. Jeff Malop's playing professional. Tons of great players. In Fort McMurray, we still had some great players, but we kind of just rallied together, like I talked about before, because of what happened in the city of Fort Mac the year prior, and we just all had a lot of fun playing hockey together. Everyone really liked each other. We had a lot of fun away from the rink, but when it came time to play, everyone was ready to go. We even had an exhibition game against the Czech Republic World Junior A team, and they came to Fort Mac to play us in an exhibition game, and we ended up beating them, which I thought was pretty cool. So a lot of different things that went into that year being so successful, but like you said, when everyone gets along, everyone likes each other, it makes it a lot easier to go to war every night for the guys sitting next to you in the dressing room. So
do you have a coach that you can say that you like to play for the most, or that taught you the most growing up?
Well, I think the easy answer there is my dad. When I played growing up, I think my dad taught me more. He was able to coach when I played minor hockey and stuff. He taught me more, as a person than as a player. And so much of being a hardworking, responsible, disciplined human being translates into being a successful hockey player or a successful businessman or a successful engineer. And so I think when it comes to life in general, I think growing up, my dad was a great help for me coaching. But I don't know. I honestly think when I played midget AAA in Calgary, I had a coach that was kind of a player's coach, I guess you'd call him. which I think is becoming more and more popular these days, especially in the NHL. When you have a coach that kind of lets you be creative, kind of lets you have some reign, isn't like down your neck 24/7 and yelling at you no matter what you do. I always appreciate that as a player. It's obviously important to have the respect of the room, but my coach Alex Mandelitis in midget AAA back in Calgary, I'd say I really appreciated just the way that he went about handling our team, and under his supervision, I think I was able to grow, develop, and enjoy playing hockey, more than I ever really had up until then. So I think I really appreciate that, and for me, I really like sort of like a player's coach. So.
What team did you play on that had the most exciting fans?
I would have to say, like you mentioned before, I played a couple games with the Calgary Mustangs, but my 2 full years of junior hockey, I played for the Brooks Bandits first and the Fort McMurray Oil Barons second. And I think I got pretty lucky because those 2 cities have the best arenas and best communities and best fan bases in the league, in my opinion. It's hard to say. I think, Brooks is even a smaller town than Fort McMurray. The fans were a lot crazier. So, they're pumped if you score a goal, but if you make a turnover, you're going to hear it in the stands, which isn't always the best, but, they just love hockey, and they just love the Brooks Bandits. So you got to give them some credit there. And we had, in the playoffs, we had some nights where we had upwards of 2,500 fans, I think. So that was pretty crazy. But the fans in Fort Mac were awesome too, because they were banging on the glass when we were warming up. They're cheering super loud. They're having fun at our games, and through thick and thin, they kind of supported us even after we had a tougher year the year before I got to Fort Mac. But they were kind and they were loving, and they made us feel really good. And I think different kinds of fans from Brooks and Fort Mac, but definitely both pretty comparable in terms of how much I appreciated them.
Do you have a favorite city that you liked to live in?
Well, I've lived in quite a few different cities now. I'm almost 23 years old. I grew up in Calgary my whole life. I think Calgary will always have a super special place in my heart. I love the cold. I don't mind the snow that we get in Calgary because the sun shines all year round pretty much, and I really appreciate that part of it. Christmases here in Calgary are the best. You got outdoor rinks and everything, which I love. I obviously really liked living in Fort McMurray and Brooks. Those are 2 other places I lived. But I only played hockey in those cities. I didn't get to do a lot else, so I think it'd be interesting to spend a little time living as a professional there and seeing and spending time with some of the people that I've really grown to care about there. But other than those few places, I've lived. My education as a mechanical engineer has taken me around Canada a little bit. I lived in Richmond area for a bit, Vancouver area, and I spend most of my time on Vancouver Island in Victoria, BC, which is where I go to school. But I have to say, Victoria, BC is a pretty darn special place. In the aftermath of my hockey career, I've looked for different sports or different ways to, maintain physical fitness, maintain that, competitive edge a little bit at least, and to stay athletic. And one of the things that I've found that's great, easy on the body, so much fun, so good for you is actually cycling, outdoor cycling. And Victoria is the best place in Canada to own a road bike. I absolutely love it there. It helps me stay in shape, year round. You can ride your bike in December, if you have the right gear. So, as of right now, I think Victoria is a pretty special place to be for me. I really like being on the West Coast. It's probably where I'll end up working when I'm done school, and for now, I'm really enjoying that.
Nice. So, do you still follow any of your old teams?
Yeah, that's a good question. I like to follow Fort McMurray a little bit more than I like to follow Brooks, just because Brooks traded me. But I still have people in the organization, both organizations, that I care about and that I want to see succeed. Fort McMurray especially, holds a special place in my heart. So I definitely keep up with, who's scoring, how the team's doing, where the coaches are. I keep in touch with my billet families from both of those cities, and I get the update from them every once in a while too. But I think, what I've taken away from my junior hockey career more than, the organizations that I played for or the logos that I played for, which are still very important to me, I think are just like the people that I met throughout my journey. I still think billets are the most underrated part of junior hockey, and both billet families that kept me at their homes, I still keep in touch with, at least to the best of my abilities, when life gets busy and life gets tough after hockey. But just being in touch with my billet families and taking away what you learn from the game of hockey is what's really stuck with me. And I hope to continue with that, for the rest of my life, hopefully.
If you could steal any player's skill, what would it be and from who?
That's a good question. I think, there's a pretty easy answer. I think it's probably what most guys go with. Speed kills. Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, watching those guys play is so much fun. I think, Nathan McKinnon's play style is probably more similar to mine. Obviously, I don't play hockey anymore, and he's in the NHL, so it's hard to compare yourself to a guy like that. But just his explosiveness and his quick release are just incredible. Having a buddy in Cale McCarr playing for the Colorado Avalanche now too. Going to the outdoor rink with that guy and seeing him handle the puck. The way that he handles the puck and with as much poise as he does, I think that's a pretty special skill too. So, a couple guys in the Avalanche, I think I'd probably have to stick with, McKinnon's speed, explosiveness, or Cale's hands.
What was your favorite hockey team growing up, and do you have a favorite memory of that team?
I think I liked a couple different teams growing up just because of superstar guys. I was a Capitals fan for a bit, an Islanders fan for a bit because of, respectively, Ovechkin and Jonathan Tavares from each of those teams. I really like those guys, but I think at this point, my loyalty lies with the Calgary Flames. I've grown up watching them, and it's my city. I love my city. So I've got to say, the Calgary Flames are probably still my favorite team. And when you ask about memories, I don't think there's one specific thing that sticks out to me, but through these tough times and these quarantines and these isolations, I think one of the things I really miss is going to hockey games with my friends, going to hockey games with my dad. My dad took me when I was a kid, and I have a lot of fond memories of going to the rink, eating ice cream in between intermissions, crushing pocket dogs before the game, and just having a good time. So I think that's been a ton of fun my whole life, and I have family in the Vancouver Canucks organization management, so that's helped me get to a few of their games, living out in Victoria, Vancouver area, and that's a ton of fun too. They're a fun team to watch, so I had to give a little shout out to the Vancouver Canucks too.
Do you have a favorite NHL player?
Favorite NHL player? Gotta go with my buddy Cale. Gotta be loyal to my buddy Cale. Yeah, he's aside from being a good player, he's always been, kind dude. Has never really been the guy to, to brag or to be unkind or to be arrogant. And I have a lot of respect for him. He's always treated people, the way that he wants to be treated in return, and holds himself really well. So, even outside of being a hockey player, guy that I know personally, gotta support him. He's a great guy.
If you could compare your game to someone in the NHL, who would it be?
Oh, jeez. I think that I don't watch enough hockey anymore to give you a super good answer, but I think if things had gone a little bit differently in my career and I were to end up playing at that level, I'll compare myself to someone probably like Blake Coleman or Yanni Gourde. Obviously those guys are bigger than I am, but not the most skilled guys, but great skaters. They work super hard, and a huge part of the team. For me, like I said, I'm happy to play any role as long as the team's winning and we're having a good time out there. So, I think probably guys like that, not necessarily a superstar, but skating's always been my kind of bread and butter, and I work my butt off out there. So I probably have to stick with one of those guys.
What about Mike Modano? Because I remember your jersey would always flow.
Yeah, I think Mike Modano is a lot higher skill guy than me, but I would love to compare my game to Mike Modano.
Do you have a favorite hockey brand such as like Bauer, Warrior, CCM?
Yeah. Well, when I started playing the AJHL, everyone's pretty much forced to use CCM in the league because the league has a deal with CCM. So the AJHL gets deals on CCM products, and in return they got to use them. So I really became a huge fan of CCM sticks, CCM helmets, CCM gloves as I kind of matured throughout my career. But grew up with Bauer. I think if I had to choose, I'd pretty much go Bauer everything. I wore the Vapor line skates my whole career. I love Bauer, man. Their sticks, they always had lightweight sticks. They always had the curves that I wanted, and I think super solid, both of them. But if I had to choose, probably stick with Bauer.
Do you have a favorite stick?
Favorite stick? Yeah, I gotta go way back for this one. I don't even know if you remember this stick. I had it when I was a young kid. It was the sickest twig. I think Joe Sakic used to use them. They're the Easton Synergy SE16, I think. I don't even know if they were Synergy or if they were just the SE16, but you'll have to go check it out after this.
Yeah, I've got no clue.
The Easton Synergy SE16, it's something like that. Iginla used to use them, Joe Sakic, and I had the Iginla curve growing up. I love that stick. I think to this day that's still gotta be my favorite twig. Go search it up.
I will after. What's your favorite food?
Favorite food? I think I gotta keep it simple with this one. I'm an Italian boy, and growing up, my nonna and nonna just make the best Italian meals, and just sitting down for a plate of my nonna's pasta. Growing up as a kid, that sticks with me as kind of the meal that I've enjoyed most throughout the years. And if you had to ask me what I would want to eat right now, I'll probably stick with nonna's pasta.
What is your pregame meal?
Well, pregame meal changed a lot over the years because I lived with different families. I didn't cook growing up because I was lazy and my parents did it for me. But I think it was just important to me that I got a good carb, not too much, a protein, and some greens in there too. I think most notably, there was a game in my last year of hockey with the Fort McMurray Oil Barons where I kind of blacked out and scored a goal that ended up going viral on Pavel Barber's Instagram account and over Twitter a little bit. And I remember the night before, staying with the Bomans, Chantel had made me, it was like these, I forget what the protein was, but the carb was like these like tater tot, sour cream, bacon, I don't know what they were, but they were delicious, and I think those are the key to scoring goals that go viral. So I got to give a shout out to Chantel for that.
Do you cook, or would you rather someone cook for you?
100% I'd rather someone cook for me. I've lived away from home for 5 or 6 years now, and especially while I go to school, I just don't care about cooking. I should, and sometimes it's nice if you have the time, and if you're cooking for other people, it's a different story, because I really like cooking for other people. But when it comes to actually putting in the time to cook my own meal, I'm taking my mom's or my dad's cooking over my own any day of the week, as long as I don't have to spend time in that kitchen.
Do you have a favorite pump-up or warm-up song?
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, throughout the years, there's been a lot. Some that stick out to me, though. When I was in Fort McMurray, our come-out song for the game was Jay-Z's public service announcement. That was a banger. That was pretty sick coming out to that song. In Midget AAA, I think it was Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue. That was unreal. As a kid growing up, a few times we had that song Spitfire. I forget who sings it, but that song would always get me going. Yeah, I think it's tough to say now, but a couple songs like the ones I mentioned definitely stick out in different years of my life.
Who was the best player you ever played with?
Well, I played with and against some pretty elite guys, guys who were once somewhat comparable in skill level to me, but now are obviously on another planet. I'd say, guy that I already mentioned, obviously, Cale McCarr, grew up playing with him in Calgary, played with him in Brooks, and obviously he's doing all right for himself. But played against some really, really strong players. Played against Carter Hart, played against Sam Steele, played with and against Jake Beam, Tyler Benson, guys like that have pretty promising futures. And if you go Google a few of them, I'm sure you'll find out a little bit more about them. And over the next few years, you'll hear about them in the NHL. But yeah, I definitely think the best is got to be Cale.
Was there one player that stood out to you that could have been great if they just have taken hockey more seriously and trained harder?
That's a tough question because I don't want to call anyone out. Yeah, I think it's a tough question because if there was someone like that, I mean, obviously there's a few guys that growing up were supposed to be amazing. I don't really want to mention any names because, just out of respect, because, I don't know a lot of guys that I didn't really know personally. So you never know what goes wrong. Sometimes when you grow, you're just, people catch up to you, and I don't really know if that's the case. But, I think it's really easy to get lost on your way to becoming successful, whether it's, hockey in school, in a profession, no matter what it is, it's really easy to get lost and to get comfortable. But I think, one of the things that I've noticed, at least throughout the years of doing whatever I've been doing, whether it's my engineering degree, cycling, hockey, is I think just having a passion for something will take you further than anything else. There's guys that I think just lose their passion for hockey, and that's okay, because if you were passionate about something, you'll find passion for another thing. When I was young, what always kept me working hard and trying to get better was just how much I love playing hockey. I think it's a lot about building friendships and building relationships and learning discipline, responsibility, and everything like that with hockey. But it's also about getting better every day. And as cliche as that sounds, it's kind of a fun dream to chase. And there's guys like Kale. I keep bringing his name up, but he's just such a good example. He played. He's always a good player, but if you asked me when I played midget AAA with him, if I thought he was going to play in the NHL, I would have told you you're crazy. And it just takes a couple years of, gaining a confidence or regaining a passion. Not to say Kale ever lost it, but it's just easy to say when you see a guy like that do it that your career can change at any moment. So it's always worth trying to put everything you have into something you love, and that'll take you pretty far in life, I think, no matter whether it's hockey or anything in life.
Was there a time that you had to make a big decision in your hockey career, and what was it?
Yeah, definitely. The most notable one for me was coming out of midget AAA. I had led our team in goals that year, and my plan was, as a 17-year-old, to go play in the AJHL. I basically had my kind of choice, my way with which team I wanted to play for. I went to two different camps, Brooks and Okotoks, both super solid organizations, and both teams asked me to sign a roster spot for the upcoming season. And basically I had to decide between going to Brooks and playing on a team that gets 10 to 20 NCAA commitments every year, with my buddy Kale, who had just signed there too, and a couple other friends in the organization. Choosing that where maybe I might not play as much, versus an Okotoks where there's still a super strong organization. They still get some commitments, and it's even closer to home. But I think at the time I made the decision that I thought was best for me in my career, and I kind of just took a chance on me being good enough to play a lot of minutes despite having such a strong team by choosing to sign with Brooks. And I'd say in the first year I really regretted that decision, because I didn't get to play much at all, and I think in Okotoks I would have had a better shot at establishing myself as a top 9 forward and getting to see the ice a lot more. But having that year in Brooks, especially as a retired hockey player now, it teaches you a lot and it humbles you a lot when you go through something like that. And I'm sure any guy in a position like I was would tell you the same thing. But it also led to me being traded to Fort McMurray, which ended up probably being my favorite year of hockey. So I think at the time it was a decision that was tough, and it put a lot of stress on me, especially as a 16-year-old at the time, because it had a big impact on my life. But and I think no matter what, things will work out if you choose to have a good mindset and you hold your head high and just kind of roll with the punches. And that's what I did, and now I'm super thankful for it. So it's definitely tough when you start to get older and you have to decide what team you want to play for, or what city you want to live in or whatever it is. With the right attitude, I think it'll work out for you no matter what.
Looking back at it, do you think you made the right decision?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know if it was the right decision because I don't know how things would have went if I had gone to Okotoks because, maybe it would have changed the way I felt about hockey. Maybe it would have changed the way I felt about hockey as my profession. I don't know. But what I do think is that I'm thankful for that decision that I made because the point that I'm at in my life right now, I'm really happy with the people that I've ran into, the relationships that I've made, the things that I've learned, the experiences I've gained, and I think things would look a lot differently if I hadn't made that choice. So, looking back, I don't know if it was the right choice, but I'm pretty damn happy that I made that choice.
Do you have a favorite hockey memory that stands out to you?
Well, I think there's definitely a few when you play for 16 years. In chronological order, I'll give you a few. I think one that was pretty special to me growing up was I was a part of a team that traveled to Europe to play in a tournament or at least I don't even remember if it was a tournament or if they were just exhibition games, but I was 10 years old at the time and we played first in Finland and then we played in Sweden, and that was pretty cool. They play hockey quite a bit differently over there, and even though I was 10 years old, it was still pretty cool to go get to play against guys like that you can't even communicate with because they don't speak English. And so that was pretty special. I think winning a championship in Brooks was pretty special. I got to play in the Quebec Pee Wee tournament, actually, which is a massive tournament nationally. So that was pretty special too. But it just, the little things are what I really look back at now and what I really miss. The little things like in Fort McMurray, after a win, after our last win of the season, we came back to Fort McMurray and our coach had waiting for us a ton of beer, and the dressing room was ours to play ping pong and hang out and celebrate, and to be able to do things like that with some of your buddies, that's something that hockey players or people that play sports at a high level will never get to experience. And that's one of the benefits, in my opinion, of playing sport at a high level, playing sport in general, is you can't replicate experiences like that. Just the little things, in the dressing room with your buddies, playing in big games. Those are the things that I miss, and those are the things that I'll remember forever, I think.
Do you miss playing competitive hockey?
Yeah, I think like I said, it's a crazy feeling, and when you kind of step away from the game, you get a chance to sit and reflect on the different things that you felt, the different things that you saw, as an athlete, and playing in those high stakes games where people are counting on you and you're giving it everything you have for the guys next to you and they're doing the same thing. That's a pretty special feeling. Even just skating out onto the ice in Fort Mac or Brooks and having fans cheer for you, having music going, things like that. I wish I could relive, and I'd love to be able to do that again. But it's also, like I said, about just being a part of a team. I think is what I miss more than competitive hockey itself, because hockey, gave me everything I have as a person. It taught me a lot, and I miss it. But the reason I stepped away from the game was, I kind of started to think about my career and what I wanted to do in the world, whether as a hockey player or not. And, they always tell you when you're growing up to keep school as a plan B, because you never know what you want to do 10 years from then. And, school was always something that I worked hard at, and I kind of decided that, you know what, when I go to rest at the end of my life, whenever that is, I want to have done something to help the world, and whether that's entertaining people as a professional hockey player, or inventing something that saves climate change, that's something that you got to decide. And for me, school is important to me, and I really wanted to become a mechanical engineer. So that's what I'm studying to become right now. I decided that hockey wasn't what I was supposed to do as a professional. It's something that gave me everything that I ever could have asked for. But of course, I miss playing hockey. Do I regret leaving hockey? I don't think so, because I just appreciate everything that it gave me, and I'm really happy with where I'm at right now.
How old were you when you moved out? And were you nervous moving out and staying with Billets?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's probably something that people think about a lot when they're about to go away, or thinking about playing hockey at a high level, whether it's junior hockey, junior or major junior. But it's a good question. I think when I moved out, I was 16, 17. I think I had turned 17 a few months prior, and luckily for me, I was only going a few hours away from home. Brooks, Alberta is like a 2-hour drive from Calgary, Alberta. So that made it a little bit easier. It also made it a little bit easier that I knew a few guys in Brooks that I was heading to, and they could show me around a little bit, help make me feel comfortable there. And I really, for those reasons, wasn't that nervous. It's always a little scary when you show up at a billet house and meet the people that you're about to spend the next however many months of your life with. For sure, it's scary, but I'm 2 for 2 in terms of walking into billet homes and really liking the people that I meet inside. So I think there's a lot of great billets out there, and in most cases they're only billeting because they're good at it and they want to take care of you, and they want to be a part of your life. So I think it's definitely normal to be nervous, and I was nervous a little bit about that part, the billet situation, but it turned out great for me, and it's turned out great for a lot of other guys I know. My biggest advice to anyone who's moving away or thinking about moving away for hockey, if you sign with a team, if you know you're going to be a part of that team the next year, even if you're just trying out, I think reach out to either some of the guys you know that are at the training camp, reach out to some of the guys that are already on the team, and do what you can to help make yourself comfortable there.
Do you have any advice for my hockey career? Hello? You there? Any technical difficulties?
You there, bud?
You there?
Yeah.
There we go. You're back.
Sorry about that, dude. I just have to cut that out.
So, last question. Do you have any advice for my hockey career?
Hold on one sec, Jace. It's just buffering. I want I want to wait till it fixes itself. All right, you good?
Yep.
All right, go ahead. You want to ask that question again?
So, do you have any advice for my hockey career?
Absolutely. We've talked about throughout the course of this interview a few times that hockey is so much more than just a game. I'd say for you, dude, just try to love it as much as you can for as long as you can, and I think that's the number one thing for any guy that plays the game and is successful at it is just enjoy it, man. You don't get to play hockey forever, even if you do go to the NHL and play 10 to 30 years there. You don't get to play hockey forever, and at every age it changes. So just try to enjoy it every step of the way. I'm sure lots of people have told you that, but to someone that you've watched play and then retire, I'd say it goes by quick, and just try to love it and enjoy it every day. Don't let it become something that feels like a chore. Don't let it become something that scares you or anything like that. Just do your best to enjoy it every second of the way. Make friends, enjoy being at the arena with your friends. Do stuff away from the arena with your teammates. Get your teammates to like you and appreciate them. I think that's a really big part is making your teammates feel appreciated, and they'll do the same thing. Goes a long way. Obviously I could sit and tell you stay away from making the wrong choices and doing the wrong things, but your parents can tell you that. For me, I just think take as much away from the game of hockey as you can. Let it shape you as a person. You're going to be a hockey player or not. You're going to be hardworking, disciplined, responsible, resourceful, all those things the rest of your life if you let yourself, be kind of shaped by the game. So all I'd say, man, is just kind of, enjoy it. Stick to the basics. Don't go. You don't need to go trying to, model your game after this person or model your game after that person or whatever. Just enjoy the game and take what you can from each and every experience. I think you'll figure out what works for you, but just enjoy it, man. That's my biggest advice. It'll make you a better hockey player, and you'll have a lot more fun doing it.
Thank you very much for joining me on Enjoy the Grind. I want to wish you the best of luck in your life after hockey and becoming an engineer. Thanks, Matteo.
Thanks, Jace. All right, we good?
Stop.
That was awesome, dude.
You there?
Yeah.
I think. How do I stop it?
What you doing?
Okay. I'm sorry. There we go. Press it, I think.
Dale, we'll call you right back, eh?